Guts and Glory!
Putting a call out on the Ladies Get Paid Slack community for Guts and Glory is how I initially got connected with Driadonna, which, by the way, if you're a lady looking for a place to pull resources and advice from, whether it be salary negotiations, activism, legal guidance, or career opportunities, Ladies Get Paid is a key community I'd highly recommend in checking out. I'm going to be honest in saying that after college or even just high school, it can be hard seeking out a setting in which you can connect with like-minded people, or to perhaps find that mentorship you're looking for. Becoming increasingly adult can become increasingly isolating, especially if you're dealing with mental health issues or living within a community that doesn't feel supportive of who you are or what you do. Okay, backtrack. Driadonna Roland, writer and editor with a background in journalism and digital media, shares her journey thus far and how she's reconnecting with her gut. In this episode, Driadonna speaks to cultivating balance between her religion and the practices that might get you a raised eyebrow, if not several. These being manifestation and listening to your gut, which is what we're all about. I hope you love listening to this fearless lady as she shares some major career moves with the help of her gut and how she utilizes therapy as a tool for personal growth regardless of the stigma. This is I'm a Little Woo Woo with Driadonna Roland. A quick heads up, we're dealing with an overseas conversation here, so the audio may reflect this. Coming to you from New York City and Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
Bingo. Okay, we're good.
Perfect.
I'm just going to jump right in. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on your show. My name is Driadonna Roland, and I'm a writer and editor. I've been working in journalism and digital media for about 10 years. I'm originally from Detroit, but now I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I love it.
Perfect. And I would like to know why you wrote in. Like, what was it about the subject of following your gut that attracted you?
You know what it is? As I'm getting a little bit more senior in my career, I'm in a place where I'm like starting to give advice to younger people and younger people who want to get into media. And I just hear a common thread of people and women specifically, like, just being afraid. And that's not something that is native to me. I'm kind of a risk taker. I just kind of believe that things are going to work out for my good. I'm very kind of, because it's like in my nature, I don't know that it's different. But then I talk to other people and I see that, a lot of people aren't so open to taking risk, So this topic kind of resonated with me because I just wanted to kind of encourage people and just kind of share of like a time that I bet on myself or I followed my gut and it worked out. And most of the time it does, you know what I mean? Like your intuition is your greatest tool. Yeah.
And do you feel that, your capability of like really honing in on your gut and implementing it into your daily life, do you feel that you inherited it, say, maybe from some elders in your family, like growing up as a kid? Does it derive from younger years, or has it really matured over time in your more adult years? Kind of what aspects contributed to that?
Gotcha. That's a great question. I think it's a bit of both. I think, so my mother is somebody who she used to drive me crazy because I thought she was just stubborn. But she really listens to herself. She just has a very strong moral compass. She doesn't care about trends. She doesn't care what anybody else is saying or doing. And like I said, it was when I was young, I was like, oh my God, this woman doesn't listen to anybody. She thinks she knows everything. But now I respect it, and now I try to incorporate it more because I do have this example of a very strong-willed person who is like, no, I'm going to listen to myself, no matter what other people think. And part of it is my religion as well. Just kind of feeling like spirit guides me, Yeah. And so that it gives me, and I hate that feeling of like when I don't listen to myself and then something happens and I'm like, dang, I knew it. Like if I would have just listened to myself, like, I hate that feeling. So as I'm getting older, I'm learning to trust intuition more, but it definitely has been a journey. And now I'm like, dang, I wish I could be more like my mom, just more like self-assured and more like I'm going to, follow my truth, whatever that is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have any immediate examples of how you implement it in your daily life?
In my daily life. It's kind of tricky in my daily life. So I work in digital media. I work at a company called Complex, where I'm like one of the oldest people in the room, even though I'm 32. And, it can kind of make you feel like an outsider sometimes when you don't listen to the same music or dress the same. Or, and it took me just a little while to be like, okay, like you don't have to be like everybody just to work here. Like you're here for a reason because you have a skill set, something to bring to the table. So instead of being so worried about not fitting in, just be you and just really maximize what you're here to do. You know what I mean? So if I'm here to write or I'm here to offer my expertise in that way, like do that, like that. Let that be the thing that drives you and that you put your energy into.
On the other side of the spectrum, because I know a lot of people, they hear intuition or following your gut and they're just like, oh, it's woo-woo, it's out there. And I was wondering, what is your perspective on it being a business asset?
I think you give your instincts they make your taste, your judgment, your style, you know what I mean? And so those are all the things that you bring to your career, to your decision making on a daily basis. Like I trust my taste. My opinions are not always popular or they're not the mainstream, but I think that they've served me well thus far. And I don't want to be like everybody else. I just try to lean into my instincts so that I'm not, just so that I have like original thought, first of all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think intuition, sometimes for me it's kind of woo-woo, honestly, because I am a Christian. I am kind of like a spiritual person. And I do believe that sometimes, I believe that God gives me signs. I believe that sometimes, He speaks through people or situations. So I am a little woo-woo.
Yeah.
But also, I do think that there's concrete reasons to listen to your instincts because that's what you bring to the table. At the end of the day, like I'm a writer, and a lot of people can write, but what's going to make me different is my instincts, my taste, the things that I lean toward, and the things that I find interesting, and how I communicate that to other people.
And do you have an example of a time or situation where it was guts versus logic and you went with your gut?
Yes. I have so I was working at this media company that, really big, really popular, really fun place to work. And I loved it there. Like I had been there for 2 years. I worked with my friends. They gave us a lot of perks. But I started to feel like I was getting complacent.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to feel like that I wasn't on a path that would lead to growth. And so it was one of those things. It was like, well, you like it here, you're having fun. Like you can stay here and chill, or you can. I just felt like I was capable of more, and started, asking around, asking about the career path, asking for new opportunities. I started volunteering in other areas, just trying to demonstrate that I could do more, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. So after a while, it just kind of was like, okay, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna sit here and wait, or are you gonna bet on yourself and listen to this thing that's telling you that you're not satisfied? You know what I mean? Like when I'm over something, I'm over it. And that to me is instinct. That's my gut. Like, and people can be like, give me a million reasons why I should stay or why I should like the thing. But if I feel myself getting bored or, getting complacent, that is my intuition telling me that it's time for a change. And so I was like, okay, this could be crazy. This could blow up in my face. But I went for it and I started applying for jobs and I wound up getting 2 really amazing offers. And I'm telling you, I left the one job on Friday making like $53,000, and I started a new job on Monday, a better position, making $85,000. Yes, like just because I trusted myself, just because I was like, I know I can do more. I know that I've proven myself, and if they don't see my worth here, then I'm going to take this chance that somebody else will see my worth, and it worked out.
I feel like you really just laid yourself bare and were really vulnerable, and that free fall moment is like you have to trust there's a safety net.
Yes, you have to, and it might not come immediately. Like sometimes, I don't want to tell somebody like just jump out the window right now, but eventually it'll work out. You'll learn or you'll grow.
And I hear like from friends, people in my immediate life, they're always kind of defaulting off of others around them. When it comes to like making decisions, and they want to hear like someone else's perspective, what's their opinion. And most of the time when you kind of go over with someone's like situation, it's usually there's a lot of fear behind what other people are going to think of them. And I was wondering, like, did you encounter, like, a certain backlash from, like, friends or family, and how you kind of dealt with that if you did?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. People thought I was crazy. People, like, and they still do. But it's exactly what you said. I try to determine, like, where does this person's perspective, where are they coming from? Because a lot of times when people give you advice, they're projecting their own things onto it. You know what I mean? So I ask myself, if this is a person who's like-minded, do they have the same kind of perspective as I do? Do they see, are they a glass half empty, glass half full kind of person? You know what I mean? And that helps me decide, okay, whether I'm going to take their advice with a grain of salt, because it's all just an opinion, but some people's opinions are based on fear, and you have to recognize that. And I am a person who, I do that. I ask a lot of people for advice and opinions, and, I'm on Google, looking for 5 tips to do this and that.
Knows.
But what I realized now that I'm older is just that the more outside opinions you seek, the more you're diluting your own voice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if I ask 10 people, I'm going to get 10 different answers, and really the person I need to be listening to is me. So seeking advice is good to a point, but after a while it's just clutter, and it's going to be counterproductive.
Do you have any ways that you kind of pull back to yourself? Any small rituals, things that you do that kind of just declutter all of that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Especially, like, living in New York, where you always want to go somewhere and be somewhere, and it's so noisy, and you just, it's hard to get still. But you have to. And so what I do is I can't think if I have work that I need to do. So I make sure, I just make sure, like, there's nothing hanging over my head.
Yeah.
And I light a candle. I might sit on my couch or in my room, and I write down every single thing, everything that's going through my mind, every decision, every alternative. Why do I want this? I try to interrogate my desires. Why do you want this? What do you think will happen if you get this thing, or whatever the case is? And then after I write everything down, I just pray. I get really quiet, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing, but you know what's in your plans for me, so just lead me, And God doesn't speak to you like, okay, this is what you do now, but
don't look for the signs.
Wouldn't that be great if he did? But I feel like he honors your stillness, and he honors your intention, And so it might be the next day in the shower, and I'm like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Or I'll go for a jog in the morning, and I get an idea, Like, I think that there is a process where there's, like, a power in just being like, I'm going to be still and seek and, and look internally, and for me, upward. But I definitely, like, get still and quiet and just make space. Like, I turn my phone off. I don't need any notifications, any buzzing. Like, I turn off social media. That helps a lot.
It's a big one.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you feel that the people around you, or what you're seeing in the media, kind of the gut instinct and intuition, it's becoming more of a mainstream practice, or would you say that it's still very much, like, frowned upon?
I think wholeness and wellness are becoming more mainstream, and they should be.
Yeah.
But I don't know if people are really advocating, like, just, how you can't tell if something is, like, trendy, or if it's, like, really.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. So, wellness and health is an industry, right? So a lot of people are going to give you, like, this kind of advice because it's popular right now. But I have kind of curated my social media, or some of the sources that I read, and I have no idea how I found these people, but they kind of they advocate intuition and spirit and listening to your gut. And I try to kind of turn down some of the superficial people that I used to follow on social media, and find more people who say things that resonate. And I think that's how you know, like, does it agree with you? Does it confirm something that you already feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if somebody is wondering, how do you know if it's mainstream, or how do you know, I think it's about, like, does this thing align with something that I know to be true, or does it feel creepy? Does it feel like make $1 off of this? Because there are people who do that. I follow people who are, like, call in on Sunday night at 12 for $30. And I'm like,
No.
nah. You know, we got to do a full moon reading, but, you know, send me money on PayPal first. I'm like, girl, what? So,
Yeah, no.
it's just a cottage industry for sure. That's creeping up. But I think it's about, there's so many different practices and ways to find enlightenment or whatever, if that's what you're seeking. So find something that resonates and something that feels true.
Yeah, I like crystals, but do I really need this whole entire set? Or it's like, do I need another protein to add to my smoothie?
Exactly. And I do yoga, and I do this one like a restorative yoga, and I like it because when you're doing like those deep stretches, you like really kind of sit in your stuff and you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you try not to think, and that's good too. Sometimes the absence of thought is what will lead you to whatever you're seeking, because sometimes you get in your own way. Like, you overthink, you overanalyze, you pick things apart. And so it can help to just clear your mind completely, or to be in like a guided situation. So like yoga, or even sometimes Soul Cycle, they get kind of inspirational and stuff. Or like guided meditations. Like, sometimes that does help. So
Yeah,
kinda,
like really taking it back to like the physical self.
Yeah.
Instead of continuously being up in your head and like, going around in circles.
Exactly. I'm bad for that.
I don't know, I feel like you're very much in a place where you would attract these kind of people into your life who are like-minded. Do you feel that so far you have a group around you that also resonates with this line of thought?
You know, I think what you said about attracting is very, very real. I happened to go on a writing retreat last week. And while I was there, one of the participants did a tarot reading. And a lot of the stuff she said was, like I said, was just like confirmation, like things that I already felt. But it was just interesting that I could be in this group of strangers, and we all she did the reading for everybody in the room, you know. So like everybody was open to it is the thing, and so they were like-minded, and that's rare. But it was interesting that I just kind of put myself in a situation, you know. I don't think I have a lot of friends who are as focused on this as I am, because this is very important to me. Like, you know, personal development or really crystallizing who I am and what I know to be true, so that I can go back to that. This is really a priority for me right now in my life, and I don't know if my friends are on that wave to that extent. You know. But I do think that I have kind of attracted situations or attracted people who are, even if they're not like my day-to-day friends. Like, and when you find those moments of connection or those pockets, it feels very affirming. It's like, okay, I'm on the right path. And I go to therapy, and that helps too.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
And a lot of people, when I say I go to therapy, and I don't know if it's like a cultural thing, but a lot of Black people are like, what? You do what? Tell me, why would you do that? Tell me about it. Were you scared? It's not really a norm. And so I find myself like advocating for it and just trying to tell people that what it does for me is it helps me to sort through all the thoughts, all the things that are counterproductive, all the clutter, and just kind of, you know, strip that away and get to the core of who I am and what I believe. If those thoughts serve me, if I need to unlearn something, and kind of helps me to, okay, this is who I am today. How can I take the experiences from the past and use them to make me better if I know that I don't necessarily want to continue to do the same things or get the same result?
It's more of like a daily kind of upkeep, and it helps you break down your life and process it, and you're not crazy if you go to therapy. That space, and you can't always demand that from your partner or your friends.
Yeah, that's true. And also, you do so many things that are subconscious that you don't even know. And so having somebody who's objective and a third party who can help you kind of analyze why you do those things or help you connect the dots in that way is helpful. Because if somebody who's too close to you, sometimes they can't really see all your stuff. They can't really see all the threads. So going to like a third party and objective person, it's helpful. Kind
of removing maybe their ego from like the situation as well, where they're 100% there for you.
Sometimes it's scary to confide in even the people close to you. They have some kind of attachment to you, and you don't want to do anything that would damage that relationship, you know? You don't want to be too honest sometimes. You don't know what you say might scare them or push them away. So therapy is kind of like a safe space where you can just be completely honest and you don't have to worry about like, is this person still gonna love me if I tell them whatever? It's helpful for me in really trying to develop this intuition and following your gut, which is what we're talking about. I'm interested in why you started this podcast and why you were interested in this thing personally.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for asking. It's just been always such an asset in my life. And in every single situation, I've always made a point to be extremely centered within myself. And I always feel I've been pretty strong in who I am. And when you kind of get that taste, that free falling, where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen next, but like, I completely trust. And then everything works out. You become more aligned. And you kind of get addicted to it.
I agree. And I like what you said about that. You've always kind of been centered in who you are. See, I haven't. And that's why, for me, it's such a big thing right now. And you know what I'm talking about, putting myself in situations or going to therapy. Like, I'm going out of my way to try to get back in touch with identity and to be centered. Because I feel like I kind of got away from that. And, you know, so I'll back up a little bit. My 20s were just like a very confusing time for a number of reasons, you know. I graduated 2008, so it was like the recession, right? So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with the job. I don't know how to get where I want to be. I'm in a relationship, and we were living together, and it wasn't going great. And it just kind of caused like a lot of, I guess, like an identity crisis, kind of. Just like, it made me feel like the things that I used to do or the person I wasn't enough because I wasn't getting the results or the success that I got, you know, when I was younger or whatever. And I was just kind of got to a point where I was asking myself, okay, what's the difference? Why do you think, you know, the path was easier? Why do you think that you were more successful at one point than you are now? And I'm telling you, it was just like, because you're not clear on who you are. So how can you attract anything? How can you get what you want if you don't know what it is? Yeah. And so I've been very intentional about trying to get centered and trying to really crystallize my identity, because I feel like once you know what you want and who you are, it's easier to follow your gut. You know what I mean? Like, once you trust yourself in that way. 100%. And yeah. And what you said about it, like, when it works out, it's like exhilarating. And you absolutely. Yeah. So I hope that people who listen to this podcast will want to get that feeling, or, you know, will seek that, because there's power in it, you know, and it's going to guide you. It really will.
If you have any recommendations that you feel speak to your own personal journey of staying true to yourself, and it can be like a song, it can be a book, or something intangible.
Like a resource that I feel like will help other people, or?
Yeah. Or maybe like what really helped you.
That is a great question. You know what helps me is like, so people like to tell me that I'm weird, and when you internalize that, it muddles your perception of yourself and who you are. And so for me, I've had to be very intentional about being like, no, it doesn't make me weird, it makes me me, and leaning into those things. So for instance, I like to go to the library and I check out books, and people are like, what 30-year-old still goes to the library? I do. This is my thing. I enjoy it, you know.
Why would you think that's weird?
Because like, you can just read on a Kindle. Who has time to read a book? Like,
oh my god.
So I just do the things that I feel like make me me. And that, I don't know. You know, it just makes me, I don't know if confident is the word, but, you know, I think there's power in being like, I'm going to own who I am, if it's popular, if it's not. So, you know, like I go to dinner by myself. If I want to go to a new restaurant, like, I'm going to check it out. I don't want the people, you know. Or I'm obsessed with lipstick. That is my thing. So sometimes when I'm really feeling like, what's going on, I will just go to the beauty supply store and play with lipstick and buy a new color. And it'll usually be something really bold, like a hot pink or a purple. And it just makes me feel like feminine and powerful, and, you know, and I think there's something to it about, like, if you do the action, then sometimes your mind or your emotions will follow. Or I'll give you another example. Like, one time I had a job interview, and I really wanted the job. And I went into the office, and I was like, it's cold in here. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this job. And I left the interview, and I bought a sweater because I was like, I'm going to need this in this office. And I wound up getting a job, and I couldn't wait to put my sweater on my chair when I started on the first day.
That is a good one.
Yeah, like I do things like that. Just like I'm gonna take the action and just believe that it'll follow. Whatever it is, it'll line up. It'll work out. Guts and Glory signing off. This is Driadonna.
This was I'm a Little Woo Woo with Driadonna Roland. Refer to the show notes to further get to know our guest. Share your thoughts and show us some love by subscribing or get in touch to be featured on the podcast. Released every other Monday. Thanks for lending us an ear. Passing on the mic.